You are listening to SwinRadio.
Okay, well, the intro didn't play, but this is Amy.
And this is Cassie.
And it is 3 p.m. and you're listening to The Plot Thickens on SwinRadio.
We read and discuss creative writing live on air every Tuesday at 3 p.m. I kind of miss you. Can you give me an intro to make up for it?
What do I say? This is Amy and you're listening to The Plot Thickens on SwinRadio.
Yay!
Nope.
Sorry, I apologize. Getting copyrighted.
Well, welcome back.
It's actually kind of sad.
I feel like there's a hole in my heart right now.
I know. We started this off on the wrong foot.
Oh, guess we should just end this.
I guess, guys, we'll see you next
And
week.
outro.
No, okay. We'll lock back in because we do have a good story today.
Well, also, hope everyone had a great Easter. Or if you don't celebrate Easter, hope you had a good Easter break.
I hope you guys took up on those chocolate sales, which actually weren't that good this year.
No. Well,
disappointing.
Yeah. Well, anyways.
But
and I'm sure everyone caught up on their assignments.
yes,
Yeah.
the first round of assignments was kind of over this Easter break. So everyone who's applied for the 3-day extension, myself,
The 3-day extension trial that they're doing.
yeah, that actually was really helpful.
And I should have done that because I submitted my piece with no references. My bad.
Whoops. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I had to message you about that.
You were like, so for the referencing, is it Ep7? And I was like, oh my god, I forgot to reference.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Surely it's fine. Anyway, enough about us.
And more about
assignments.
Deanna Caputo, whose
Yeah.
piece we're reading today.
Thank you so much, Deanna.
Yeah, who's a creative writing student at Swinburne.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, do we want to just jump into it?
Let's just jump right in. Sorry,
Let's just jump right into it. And I am reading today.
You are. So today's short story is called Heads Up, Hearts Open.
It's a creative nonfiction piece as well. And no spoilers, so I'll just start reading.
Yep.
This is Heads Up, Hearts Open by Deanna Caputo. The corner was my first classroom, and it taught me everything I needed to know about being a nuisance. I never learned to juggle. You could say it was a lack of patience, or that I simply didn't care for the trick. But the truth was simpler. You can't learn much from the edge of a room. My view was a study in scuffed brown wainscoting, scarred by years of red plastic chairs being slammed into the wood after assemblies. Above the scars, the walls stretched towards a ceiling that felt unnecessarily tall, at least 5 adults high. The windows were set so far up that looking outside was a privilege reserved for the rafters. From my vantage point, I learned the language of the floorboards instead. I felt the sharp crack of runners striking wood and the dull, heavy thuds of sports bags being dumped in the middle of the room. I knew that first sound. It was the same sound my leg had made when I went to the park with my nonna. I jumped off a tiny balance beam and somehow karate chopped my own shin with my other leg, and had to be carried home. The next morning, whether through the fog of sleep or the desperate hope that the snap and pain had been a dream, I tried to walk to say morning to Mama, who had rushed back to Nonna's house after being cold. My leg had given up beneath me within a second, and the good morning I had intended was replaced by my own scream. Somewhere in the mess of those 2 falls, both my tibia and fibula had broken. Healing in the cast took 6 weeks, then came a few more spent relearning how to trust a body that had forgotten how to hold me. I'd been excited for the cast at first. I'd seen them around the playground, plaster trophies covered in a riot of signatures, stars, hearts, and loopy get-well-soon wishes. My own was wrapped in bright pink mesh. The hospital had given me 3 choices. Blue was out of the question for reasons never explained, and white would stain. So I chose the loud neon pink. I figured it would attract the Sharpies. I figured it would soon be a mosaic of my future friends' names. A week into school, the pink remained uninterrupted. It was a scream of color that no one answered. I hated it. That was how I ended up in the corner at 5 years old. Every PE class, the teacher would wheel me to the same spot by the stacked gymnastics mats. On lucky days, I was positioned to face the hole. On bad days, I was turned towards the wall, the wheels of my chair locked, leaving me to spend the hours straining my neck just to catch a glimpse of the life behind me. While my classmates stood in loose pairs and circles, tossing vibrant colours through the air, the teacher handed me a single beanbag. It was orange, and the stitching was fraying at the seams, and when squeezed, the dried beans popped out between the threads. It used to be pink, the teacher told me, as if that would make me feel included. I hated pink. Later, back in class, we had quiet time. The teacher would put on relaxing music, and the other children were allowed to sprawl on the carpeted floor, eyes closed, drifting into a collective nap. But I wasn't allowed on the floor. I was told I'd be a distraction, because I'd need help getting back up. Instead, I was made to perch on a wobbly chair that lacked the leg support of my wheelchair. My cast throbbed with its own weight, bruising my other leg or knocking against the metal desk's leg as I tried to find a sedentary lean. The ache pulled into my hip and radiated up my back. When a single hot tear slid down my cheek and onto the grainy grey desk, the teacher didn't move. She didn't offer a tissue or a better chair. She just looked at me and said, "Relax like the others." This was the first time I broke a bone. This was only the first time I broke a bone. Nearly 2 decades later, I sit on a bed in a room with dark green wainscoting. It belongs to my best friend, a woman who sees the world in shades of inclusion. She is hunched over her desk, scribbling out a lesson plan for one of her teaching placements. "I need to switch up heads down, thumbs up," she says, chewing her pen. I ask her why. It's a classic. Why mess with it? "I have 2 kids in my class tomorrow who can't stand easily," she says, her eyes scanning her notes. "I need to make sure they're part of the game." I look at my friend, who handpicked the forest greens of her walls, who keeps a cupboard full of puzzles, and who still loves dinosaurs enough to proudly display the collectible Carnotaurus I got for her birthday on the shelf. And I believe she is the kind of teacher I needed then. As she finishes her plan and reaches for a set of tricolored juggling bowls, I realize, as she joins me on the bed and tosses a bowl into the air and begins to show me the rhythm, that I'm finally out of the corner.
Yay! That was so cute.
I know, I love that one.
I always find stories about children so sad. It's about like
I know, like
exclusion
isolated
and
isolation.
Isolation.
Yeah.
Like, don't bring me back.
Don't make me go back there.
Don't make me go back there. Don't make me go back there.
Okay, well, did you wanna start?
I'll start us off.
Okay.
With the use of color in the story. I probably should have started with something more generic. But what stood out to me immediately was how color is used to kind of differentiate between the feelings of isolation and the feelings of inclusion. Specifically, the color pink was used to show how this person, or this girl, pretty sure it's girl, girl is extremely isolated. It's the pink cast, the pink, or faded pink, I suppose, juggling ball, and then at the end it's the green and the other colors of inclusion that make kind of a complete group. Like, she's no longer alone with these colors, which I thought was really nice. But I do wish that was a constant motif or constant theme that was continuously brought up. I feel like it was kind of like a little bit of a half-developed theme that I really would have loved if it explored it more. It went a bit more into the green at the end, with the walls and even just the dinosaurs. Like, that dinosaurs in themselves are very like green kind of creatures.
I also don't know if I pronounced that dinosaur name right.
I skimmed over it when I was reading it.
I forgot. Sorry.
But I really would have loved if we had like moments where the pink was kind of brought back to show that isolation. If she was like squeezing her hands, and her hands are going pink, like white from pink, or she's so like sad that her cheeks are going pink, or
or
from
embarrassed,
from crying, from being embarrassed, from this isolation. Because I really like the idea of using color to show, especially a color as significant as pink for young girls.
Yes, which I also wanted to bring up. I love the inclusion of like there were 3 options for the cast, and blue was out of the question, which sort of, gender roles.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, and I think it sort of it adds back to the inclusive-ness of the later parts of the story.
Yeah, especially with like green, which is more of a masculine color. You've kind of got the red, blue, and green, which is the boy colors.
Yeah.
And then you've got like the
pink and purple,
which is like the girl colors.
Yeah, but I love that just subtle inclusion of that. Especially because I feel like this is very much based in like the 2000s.
Yeah,
and
early 2000s.
That already takes me back to like story time. I remember being in kindergarten and talking to a boy, and we were coloring, and he like divvied out all the pencils, and he gave me the pink and the purple one, and then took every other color, and he said, well, you can only draw with those ones because you're a girl. Yeah, so it just takes me back to that, and that very like...
Yeah, especially I feel like for a young girl, standing up for yourself is something that is really tricky.
Yeah.
The world's kind of set up, like stacked up against you, in a way, and
From the get-go.
So I don't know if that was like an underlying theme in this story, but I definitely got that, especially with the I hate pink.
Yes.
Where originally...
yeah, because I had that. I grew up, I hated pink.
I didn't care about pink. Be so real. I loved blue.
Well, yeah, because I hated pink and purple, and now purple is like my favorite color. I love purple.
I can't say I had an opinion on pink. But I do know, let's actually get into this a little bit. Okay. How, I don't know if there was intended themes of like gender roles in this story, but the whole using or getting pink in the first place as something for future friends to sign kind of to me read as this like girlhood. Like she wanted this like girlhood feeling. She saw all the other kids, or she's seen in movies, supposedly she's 5, so I don't know how many of her friends are breaking bones yet.
A lot.
Well, I don't know. So she's like, oh, something pink and girly for all my friends to, do, especially the cursive letters. Like, that's a very girly or feminine font, I suppose is the better word. All these things are set up to be very feminine, this kind of girlhood communal friend group that she's kind of longing for. And the pink is actually what ends up isolating her, which is what I was really saying before that I really liked, how it was neon. It's hard to ignore something that stood out too much. And she was given this like faded pink bag, and she hated pink. And that kind of ties into like what you were saying before, that kind of thing that a lot of young girls go through where they hate their femininity.
But because they get put in a box.
Yeah, it puts you in a box where if you're reduced to only being allowed to like pink, it's this need to break free from that almost.
Like absolutely hate it in order to stay away from it.
Yeah, to not be judged even. Because if you did like pink, then you were just falling into that category.
Yeah.
Which it feels like it's straying a little bit far from the story, but it does have those elements of...
Yeah, which is it's still interesting to look at. Like, I think, especially with the teacher friend character later on in the story, I think that could be very interesting looking at, because this is a shorter part of what is going to be a longer story. And to delve into that a little bit more, I think would be...
Yeah, because this story, I think Deanna mentioned, is going to end up being around 2,000 words. Right now, it's at about 900.
Yeah.
So to add more to the story, I definitely think there's an ability to go into that, especially with the friend in the future. And I don't know, like I don't know if you cared about it as much as I, but I loved the use of the green as like a kind of middle ground color, or even middle ground / masculine color to use as this like inclusive color for everybody. For this like boy and girl and inclusion, the children who find it more difficult to stand. So even from like an abled body perspective, inclusion, from a gender perspective, inclusion, like the end of the story kind of like brings it all together again. So I like that. I would like to see like really a little bit more going into that as well. Yeah. Especially because it does feel like a bit of a jump.
Yeah. And I think it would be nice for the teacher character to mention like young girls. Like
young girls specifically.
Because I mean I grew up very tomboyish in primary school. I kind of like stood out a little bit. So having a character like that it's very cute. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Did you see the character as very tomboyish?
Not so much tomboyish, but more just like not feminine. Like
Okay.
not as like girly as some of the other young girls in her class, because that was very much me. I wasn't necessarily like cut my hair short and like
Yeah.
I just didn't care.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of physical description of what this character looks like. I think it is supposed to be a very personal story to the writer. They're obviously taking a lot of inspiration. This is a very personal story. Like, this is a very specific scenario. But it's interesting you saw it that way, because I saw it more as how I was, like, as a little girl, which is more feminine, long hair. I'm changing topics now. The start of the story is very much from the perspective of the young girl, and it kind of, the language, I think, could be altered a little bit to better fit that point of view, especially as you're growing up with the character. Specifically, the line where it's 5 adults high felt a little out of place to me, because it feels a little bit like you're altering language to be more childlike, but children don't really see it that way. They wouldn't really measure in terms of units. And also, I don't think it's too important of a description to be used. I feel like it might be better to have some kind of sensory language there, something to describe how small she felt in the room, because that's what the actual important part of the description is. How tall the ceiling is how small she feels.
And if you do have your heart set on 5 adults high, I feel like even just to make it a little bit 5 adults tall, I feel like it just flows a little bit better.
Yeah, flows a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have, because the story, I think I said it before, there is a bit of a jump when it goes from that was only the first time I broke my leg, and so we're going from her being like 5 to her saying that was only the first time she broke her, bone, not leg, and then 2 decades later. So we do get quite a large jump. If we're setting up that that's not the only time that this character's ever broke a bone, I would have liked to see other times and how that isolation could
like
make
maybe
somebody
throughout
feel.
high school or something.
Yeah, because obviously I don't know the...
this is a non-fiction piece. Like, it's creative
piece.
non-fiction.
Yeah. But even if, like, the character had broken a bone sometime in high school, and even if they still had friends at that point who did sign the cast, there is a level of isolation that is still included. You can't go out with your friends, moving around the high school. I don't know what your guys' high schools were like, but for me, it's like you could only really have one friend to fit in the elevator with you.
Elevator?
We had an elevator in our school.
What?
Sorry. But like levels like that, I'm saying, where it doesn't necessarily, if the main theme is like isolation, there is still a level of isolation to find when you're surrounded with other people that can be caused by something like, an injury. And that's common that you see in writing when people talk about like chronic illnesses and stuff. This level of disability.
Because it's lonely.
Yeah. It's very like lonely. So to flesh out the story a little bit, give it more words, I would have like to have a better flow from like the child to the adult later, especially because you can actually have a better understanding of what inclusivity looks like when you get to this age, the age now. Yeah.
And I also just had a little note that I think more established feelings of that isolation beforehand. Like, I love the inclusion of like future friends. Like, that's a very subtle way to be like, she doesn't have any friends. But I feel like a little bit more would have made the punch a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
When she gets no signatures or anything. I feel like just a little bit more on that. Like, even if it's like I was playing on the playground when I was at the playground with my nonna and I was playing by myself. Like.
Yeah, or even her being like, can I join you? And the kids are like, you can't run. How are you going to join us?
Oh, yeah.
Some level of that.
Like playing tag.
Yeah, because there is like very little dialogue in this story, but there is some. So if you wanted to use dialogue extremely sparingly, those incredibly harsh lines, especially from the point of a child, it feels kind of like a stab to the heart to be like, no, you can't play with us, after building up courage to ask.
Yeah.
But I will say one of my favorite lines of this story is in that moment
that
you just talked about. Yeah, it was a scream of color that no one answered.
Yes, that is so good.
That's incredible.
I wrote that down. I think I wrote it down with a little love heart next to it.
I don't think...
Yeah, I did. I said incredible line.
That line is so crazy.
It's so impactful. And also, it's great because it brings back to all the sensory detail that we were talking about as well.
Yeah, scream of color that no one answered. This, like, visual and sensory feeling that she's yelling for friends, reaching out for anything, and it is complete silence that she's met with.
Yeah, like she didn't have much choice in which color that she could pick, but she was happy to pick pink because it stood out and it meant that people would notice her, and then it didn't happen.
I don't know. Yeah, specifically girls too with the pink choice, and then it's a woman friend later down the line. But maybe I'm just projecting because I love stories about like female friendships.
Yeah.
And it is such a big part of being a young girl to want female friendships.
And I do. I don't really know how to put this, but I love the lack of male characters because not a single male character is mentioned, which also. Going back to, gender roles and how it starts from the get-go, like caretaker roles, teacher, nonna, mama. Like those are the only like adults mentioned when she's a child, and they're all caretaker roles, which I really like that. Again, I think that just subtly nods to the... If you weren't actually making much commentary on gender roles... We found it, though. We found it.
Yeah, I think it'd be a missed opportunity not to touch on it because there is so much that's set up here to have, even if it's not like the main point of the story, obviously this story is more about like the isolation, as like a back burner or like subtle thing that's underneath this like expectation of women to,
take care.
Take care of each other, really. This girl obviously didn't get. The teachers were incredibly cruel because there is a commentary here about like the education system as well, with how teachers and especially teachers in the early 2000s like didn't account for inclusion. Like those things were so sparing, and I liked the subtle nod to, I don't know if the intention was because she was being a difficult student, but on bad days she would be wheeled to face the wall. Was something that I found really interesting, and I would have loved to go into that a little bit more, the like punishment almost from the teachers of
like subtle punishment.
Yeah, the subtle punishment of not being fully abled, like having a fully abled body. She wasn't able to get on the floor because it was an inconvenience to get her back up from the floor.
Yeah, it would be too much of a distraction.
Like, and I don't know if that is also a part of the story, but this like punishment towards people who aren't completely able-bodied is incredibly interesting, especially in the education system where that is such a prevalent issue. I know like a lot of people nowadays like to talk about the mental health side of it, like the lack of inclusion or accessibility when it comes to mental disorders like ADHD, autism, the more mental side of it. But there is still that huge disadvantage that able people or non-able people, bodied people, experience when it comes to schools.
Did you grow up in school? Did you have many like disabled people at your school?
No, I think only a few in high school. And at that point, it is 2020, 2019. It was a little bit better.
Right, yeah.
But when I was in high school, the most we had was kids on crutches. And even that,
I remember my brother broke his leg when he was like 10 years old or something. And he had to be in a wheelchair for a little bit as well. And there was just like no accessibility. So they had to like, especially since I went to school and there were a lot of disabled people there as well. And so the school had to quickly be like, oh, damn it, we need to build ramps quickly.
I not like, obviously, but the inclusion of like the punishment for these children for stuff that they can't control.
Yeah, exactly.
Is extremely interesting.
Like teachers taking it out on the students, which happened a lot.
Which happens a lot. That is an extremely real thing. And I don't mean to keep bringing gender into it, but the punishment of women and young girls when they're not easy
for being
students.
a nuisance or like being too
being a difficult
loud in their
student
like
is
stuff they can't control.
I feel like that's such a young girl experience as
Yeah.
well, where you can. I don't know if this is meant to be an all gender school. I went to an all gender school. The boys
Yeah, me
were
too.
allowed to be rowdy and run around and yell and be a nuisance because it's just what boys did. But the girls had to be incredibly kind and like forgiving.
Yeah, or
in a
even
sense.
just like little things. Like I went to the nurse's office like a lot when I was in primary school, just because I was clumsy. And it would always kind of be like a point where like I would keep showing up and but like boys in my class would go there all the time too, but it was always a point that I was going and I was like, I just fell over and I need a Band-Aid, leave me alone.
Yeah, so I feel like we've touched a lot on the gender, not a lot of the isolation, but it genuinely is.
I
the
mean,
most
we got
interesting-
time. We got half an hour.
We actually do. We have a lot of time.
But
Yeah.
it's a very interesting part of this because it is so subtle in it.
Yeah, I also interestingly feel like we picked up on it because we're women.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we're reading into is stuff that is extremely small within the story and maybe didn't even recognize that it was being written from that perspective. But
we saw it.
we saw it.
clocked it.
We clocked that.
Yep.
Even in the never learned to juggle thing, one of the opening lines, I never learned to juggle, and then at the end her friend is teaching her how to juggle, to me is inherently so like feminine, where you're not taught how to do anything, people just believe that you should know how to do it.
Yeah.
And that comes with like so many things, which boys have as well. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm saying that it's such an inherently feminine thing for people to expect you to immediately know how to do something without being taught.
Yeah.
And you usually have to rely later in your life on teaching it to yourself or for your friends.
Or the
to
men in
teach
your
it to
life.
you. Or the men in your life to teach it to you, which is worse.
Or to teach things, simple things that you're expected to know to the men in your life.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting off topic. I just needed to say it.
Yeah, absolutely that. But yeah, this expectation that this girl would just know how to do certain things like the juggling, but she didn't. She was given like a disadvantaged thing.
And
She only got one beanbag.
One
to
beanbag
throw
that was broken
that was broken. So in a way, it's like she was set up
for failure.
for failure.
Yeah.
And when she did fail, it was taken out on her as a punishment by the authority figures.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like you can go so much, if you're looking to pad out, like, words, you can go so much more into detail about that, about how ostracized and, like, singled out you feel from these teachers who are supposed to be the ones intervening when the children are being cruel. They're supposed to be the ones who are making students play together and have inclusion and all this stuff, the ones that you go to when you feel bad, but it is the teachers that are the cause of this main issue.
I also did want to add a point about the teacher character because obviously we don't get a lot about her. Like when the main character is a child, the teacher there.
Yes.
I feel like she is a very robotic character right now, which, you know, it's from a child's perspective. It's going to appear that way. But I feel like humanizing her even slightly will add a bit more oomph to it. Like adding that she was, like, seemed, like, impatient or something. Something that still makes it so that the teacher is taking it out on the young girl. But she's not just doing it in such a robotic way. Like, she's...
And even if you wanted more of that punch, you could talk about her first day of school, how she was super excited and how the teacher felt so friendly and warm. And then when she looked for that again, she was only met with this, like, cruelty from her after breaking her leg. If it's like a juxtaposition or some kind of, like, punch moment that you wanted to express as well. But, yeah, I agree fleshing out some of the other characters. Even the friend at the end has a lot of character when you look really far into it. But on the surface, just, like, reading it, she's very just... I'm a teacher having some inclusion things, and now we're going to juggle. Some level of finally having a friend as well. Because this is the first time that we see in the story that she, you know, after wanting friends for so long, wanting to be part of something for so long, she actually has it. So I would have liked to see a little more how that felt to her to actually be with somebody.
More fleshed out. Because again, obviously this is just a small part of a bigger piece.
Yeah.
But more fleshed out in that introduction to her 2 decades later, I feel like would really work very well to set up more with the friend. I also had a point. There's the 2 lines at the very start, which is, the corner was my first classroom and it taught me everything I needed to know about being a nuisance, full stop. I never learned to juggle. You could say it was a lack of patience or that I simply didn't care for the trick, but the truth was simpler. You can't learn much from the edge of the room. I feel like that second line works better if it's later in the story. I feel like it's setting up the juggling a little bit, but then you just kind of forget about it because you're too distracted by the broken leg thing. So I feel like that line is still great. I think it just needs to be put somewhere else in the story.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's a good line. I think you can even keep it at the start, but then introduce the juggle thing later as an incredibly different part. Because the line, just you can't learn much from the edge of a room is good to start it off. Because it's setting up the story.
And I feel like going straight into the story after that. And then when it does come to the juggling, adding, I never learned to juggle. I just feel like it adds the context, because you have the context at the start and then you just kind of forget about it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I do, when we were talking about it before air, I did say that the juggle line was strange because it never comes back, and then Amy had to remind me it does come back at the end.
Because Cassie doesn't read the stories, I guess?
I do read the stories. I promise I read the stories. I always read the stories. What is this slander? This blasphemy. No, just it feels like a big jump when it's not a huge payoff.
Yeah, especially because there aren't a lot of very big callbacks to the... there's 2 callbacks to the juggling, which is the orange juggling sack that's broken.
Yeah, the beast.
And then there's the juggling at the end. I feel like you can add more about the juggling all throughout. I wrote a little note.
Especially for something as strange as juggling, it does feel a little out of place that they just start juggling.
How many times are we going to say juggling?
It is starting to feel like a word that doesn't exist. But I don't know if it is because it's like a personal story and that is actually a real anecdote, the juggling. But it did feel a little out of place that they're at her friend's place and she's like, all right.
Time to juggle.
Time to juggle. It's juggling time.
Stop saying that. But I did also want to say, you could also... potential, foreshadowing, I feel like, for the juggling would be cool.
If she, tried and failed.
Well, even just, I said, potential foreshadowing in the leg break scene, which is that when she's playing on the playground, it could be something like, I couldn't juggle the something and the something.
Juggle between doing 2 actions?
Yeah, which is just, a little bit of a cheeky foreshadowing to what comes later. Yeah, which is that she can't juggle.
Yeah, I guess let's say balance instead, because I feel like juggling is kind of symbolic for being able to balance something. And in this case, the main prevalent thing is being able to balance making friends while also having something that is isolating you. And at the end, she's finally able to balance something because she's not alone.
Yeah.
She's able to balance her insecurity and everything because she has someone to fall back on, a friend. So the repeated, we say it all the time, we love repetition.
Yes.
Of this struggle that she can't keep everything steady in her life because things are stacked up against her, would be something interesting to continue bringing up if you wanted to keep the juggling beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah. You said it better than I did. I'm trying to look for some more notes that I might have.
Yeah, because I'm able to go a bit. If you've got some more broader stuff, then...
Yeah, I mean, I've got more about the juggling.
If you've got more broader stuff, let's go into that, because then
can I say my juggling bit first?
Oh, you actually had more.
I do have more.
I thought you were making a joke. That's
No.
I completely was like, all right.
No, I got more about the juggling.
Okay,
You
okay,
just
okay.
weren't even, you just gave me a look and then you were going to move on. What the hell?
You'll have to see the VOD for that.
On Sweaty Jesus on YouTube.com.
The look that I gave her. Okay, give me more about the juggling.
I'd love to talk about the juggling more.
Tell me more!
I feel like in the final scene with the friend, I feel like some initial hesitation to it would still be, like, interesting.
Hesitation to what?
To learning how to juggle from her friend. Yeah. I feel like that would just still be interesting because...
Oh, she was afraid.
I don't want to juggle. Don't make me juggle.
Don't make me juggle. I can't do it. I can't do it again.
But, like, that initial hesitation, I feel like, because she seems...
Hang on, I'm rereading this for a second because
Okay.
are we stupid? Is the juggling metaphorical in the end? Or are they actually
I think
juggling?
they're actually juggling. Wait, are we...
She reaches for a set of tri-colored juggling balls. I realize she joins me.
And tosses a ball into the air and begins to show me the rhythm. So she's teaching her how to juggle.
Okay.
Okay. Glad we established that.
I was really scared for a minute that we went all this juggling and it was metaphorical.
Well, we did nothing but talk about juggling the whole time.
An hour of juggle content. Oh, no. That sounds so... Okay, we're gonna end it there. Okay, so was that your... I see that,
Yeah.
on the juggling at the end.
We're
We're gonna move on.
All right, you go. Your turn.
Well, I was saying that, did you have any, like, larger kind of themes that you wanted to talk about before we go kind of just into sentence? Because I have, like, a few... Something that Deanna specifically mentioned was to go into a few of the sentences and deconstruct them a little bit, which there are a few here that I do want to get into. Okay. But if we've got some bigger things to do first.
Well, because there was a specific thing about, like, the social dynamics, I think would, again, that whole isolation thing, just having her interact with more of the other children, I feel like would be great and just add a lot to the story. And whether she's disconnected, like, again, we don't know why she's disconnected. Don't know if maybe it's because the teacher is against her and so then all the other students are against her and it's like a weird power thing.
I
Maybe
feel
it's
like
a culture thing.
At that age, children are so, and this is the wrong word, but like cult-like. Like one child does something.
Hive mind.
The rest, they're very hive mind, you know, especially they're 5. They're 5 years old.
All these children are sheep these days.
A child does one thing and they don't have object permanence, you know, so... I'm simplifying them a little bit. But, you know, if children are on the playground at lunchtime... And they're running around trying to show their friend their trick on the monkey bars. Like, they're not like, oh, there's a girl in a wheelchair, let's go talk to her. Like, you know what I mean?
They're sort of one-track mind.
Yeah, they're one-track mind. So I don't even think necessarily the teacher needs to pit them against each other or the children themselves need to be cruel in any way for that isolation to take place.
They're just children.
Children are cruel.
Yeah.
But even more of that, like...
The lights turned off.
Oh, my goodness. That was scary.
All right, we're doing this in the dark now. All right, well, no, my notes are on paper.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Turn your brightness up. Even more of, like, the feeling of isolation. There's a lot of, like, physical description to
You keep
show...
talking now. I'm going to try to turn the light on.
Yeah. There's a lot of physical description to show that she's being isolated. Her being in the corner of the room. Her talking about how the ceilings are so high so she feels small. Her talking about how she can't go on the ground. Her talking about how she's facing the wall. There's a lot of physical description that she is not with the other group. But there's no real feeling of what... Like, no real description of emotions that she's feeling. How that made her feel. Like, some level of... There does get a little bit when she starts crying, and I loved that. I loved that so much. I thought
The hot tear sliding down.
Yeah, kind of. But if there's a moment where she's crying, it would have also been interesting if everything was building to that moment. If before she started crying in all the other moments, she's like, I feel like my face flushes, but I hold back. Or like I was saying before, like I squeeze my hands till they go pink, or till they go white, and I release it and they go pink. This, like, bottling up of emotions until it's too much, and then she cries.
Bottling up of emotions that is portrayed physically as well.
Yeah, and that
Because
also
that's how a lot of
inherently
children-
feels extremely feminine.
Yeah.
Bottling up of emotions to not be a nuisance, and I'm using nuisance because that is the word.
The word that's used.
That is used in the story, but to not be a bother, I suppose, until it all becomes too much, and then you cry. And then... even in that moment of crying, you're seen as dramatic. It is seen as this
because it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's seen as this overreaction because it's a combination of stuff that's happened for a very long time until you can't hold it together anymore. So the teacher looking at her, not even offering a tissue, just being like, "You need to relax. Everyone else is
You're
relaxed."
crazy. You look crazy right now.
Yeah, like you're overreacting. You're being stupid. Or not even being stupid, but you're being dramatic. Like that also feels very inherently feminine, and especially young girl feminine when you don't know yet how to convey these feelings. Just knowing that you're not allowed to show them, and knowing that there is this stigma towards showing them.
Yeah, and that you will be isolated if you do.
Isolated even further. Yeah. I think, and showing some difference between the other children as well, some level of her watching them play but not being able to join. Even if it's just like watching the other girls laugh together, or watching the other girls leave school together, or run out to see their parents together, or like holding each other's backpacks, stuff like that. Like
Friendship bracelets.
Tiny, tiny things that really only girls notice about each other. Like I remember being a kid, and when I didn't have... Shout out me, young me. And I didn't have too many friends.
Yo, shout out young Cassie.
Shout out young Cassie, kind of alone. I noticed that other girls would braid their hair on the same day.
Yeah.
And like tiny, seemingly insignificant things that just make you feel so alone.
Yeah. Everyone wore a skirt and they didn't tell you.
Yeah, everyone did something else. And it doesn't even need to be intentional. Sometimes it just feels that way when you're lonely. Or when you don't have any friends. Or when you're trying to make friends and everyone's got an established group.
Yeah.
Like something has set you back behind other people and now you're not able to catch up.
And now you're trying to like assimilate to everyone else, but you can't.
Yeah, because for me that was, I moved schools when I was younger. So I moved to a school where there were previously established friend groups. So it was hard for me to fit in. In this case, it's her breaking her leg, so she's not able to actually run with those people. But some level of that where you're trying to join something that's already established, but you're being held back because of external factors or circumstances. That itself is extremely isolating because you're trying to get something that everyone else already has.
Yeah.
And you're starting from behind the start line.
Yeah.
So more of that feeling of it feeling extremely overwhelmingly isolating.
Yeah. And it can come out more physically or emotional. What am I trying to say? In a monologue that is more emotional rather than this is what is happening in the story.
Yeah. I do like the physical descriptions. It's a good nod to actually the things that are really happening, grounded in reality. But there needs to be a level of physical description and then internal monologue, especially when it is a first-person perspective of a story.
Yeah.
To have a first-person perspective that doesn't go into the mindset of the character and the emotions of the character feels a little disconnected. So really grounding that into the character's feelings would help improve that.
Yeah. I'm trying to find my notes. We mentioned it very briefly earlier.
Okay.
Lack of dialogue in the piece.
Yes.
I think is great.
I love that.
I love that too, especially if it changes between the times, like when she's younger, there is like minimal dialogue as possible, and then when she's older, there's much more dialogue.
Oh, to show that she's able to have a conversation now?
Yeah, or that she has someone to talk to. Or, because I don't think there's a single quotation of
From
her speaking.
Her voice, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like even if...
No, there is.
Which one?
Oh, no, never mind. It's an internal... Oh, that's actually really smart. I did not place that. For everyone who didn't understand, I need to switch it up. Heads down, thumbs up, she says, chewing her pen. I ask her why. It's a classic. Why mess with it? That's not her talking. That's an internal monologue. It's a classic. Why mess with it?
Yeah.
Essentially, the writing is showing that she has said this, but it's not in a dialogue. Like, it's not dialogue.
Yeah, which I think it's a very interesting way to do it. I would be interested to see how that plays out for the rest of it, because that's very hard to keep up.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the future parts of the story, I feel like you can definitely afford for her to have dialogue.
Especially if a character, falling back into feeling extremely isolated, to be talked to as a character is incredibly powerful. If these small moments of dialogue are the character being talked to, that's a really interesting thing to set up, especially being young. The only pieces of dialogue we get is her being told that blue is out of the question.
Yeah.
In quotation marks. Though it's not necessarily dialogue that's happening in a present time. And also the everyone else is relaxing line, or relax like the others line. These moments where she's being denied something is the only piece of dialogue we get when she's younger.
Yeah.
She's being denied the, denied being included and being denied opportunities, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. The opportunity to feel and show emotion and explain that you need something as well. This inability to explain that she needs help.
Yeah.
Or needs extra stuff, which is fine. Like, you gotta meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
Give people extra help if they need it.
I feel like I heard something else, but I actually cannot find it right now. Oh, I just had a little comment.
Okay.
Oh, where is it? Oh my god, where is it? I've been trying to look for it. Oh, here it is. I'd seen them around the playground, plaster trophies covered in a riot of signatures, stars, hearts, and loopy get well soon. I love that the get well soon is in a different font. In the actual piece, it's in a different font to the rest of it. It's so cute. I love that. Right there.
Aww.
Yeah.
I put everything onto Google Docs so that I can I can edit it while I read it, but that also means that I missed out on that. That's really cute.
Yeah.
It's like a little children's scribbled font.
Yeah, I just thought that was really cute. That would be cool if that comes back later in the story. Like maybe she sees like a letter from a child on her friend's desk or something.
Yeah, that kind of... Yeah, I think that's going into what I was saying before, where it's like grounding it in the mindset of the character.
Yeah.
Where the language that you use and the font that you use all reflects the person that's telling the story and like the place in their life that they're saying it from.
Yeah,
small things like that are really fun ways to like world build a story without necessarily needing to be explaining the world, I suppose.
Yeah,
Small world building moments.
I just thought it was very, very sweet and I really liked it. Did you have more to say about the sentences and stuff?
Yes, there are a few nitpicky things that I'm gonna go into. You can't learn much from the edge of a room. I think should be corner.
From the corner of a room?
From the corner of a room.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes opposite to what we say all the time, which is within close by sentences, don't use the same word. But to me, it doesn't make sense to say the corner was my first classroom and then you can't learn much from the edge of a room. To me, the picture of it, of the edge of the room, isn't as impactful as being shoved in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
Because there is this imagery of being boxed into a corner. That is an imagery on itself, something that's like just established in all writing, being shoved in a corner, being shoved, So the edge of a room thing feels like just use the word corner. I know it's already used like a few sentences beforehand, but just in this situation,
in this case, I feel like
to
it
me
just
it's forgivable
works.
because it's already like an established imagery just of creative writing.
Yeah.
Also, and now I'm going to completely contradict myself because there's two words that are very similar that I use a sentence later, which is my view was a study. Oh, and this sentence actually could be workshopped a little bit because I think you struggled reading it too.
No, which one was it?
My view was a study in scuffed brown wainscoting, scarred by years of red plastic chairs being slammed into the wood after assemblies. Above the scars, the walls stretched towards. Scars, it's used, or maybe it was scuffed. Oh yeah, scarred by years, and then above the scars.
I feel like it could just be above
it could
the
just
scuffs.
be marks,
Oh.
scratches, dents,
Scuffs.
scuffs. Scuffs is already used.
Yeah,
Scuffed brown wainscoting. There's a lot of synonyms you can use, so it's not just so same wordsy. Especially if the actual word of scars doesn't mean too much.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not a motif or some kind of symbolism, if it's just a description of the floorboards being scuffed or broken or, scarred, just use a synonym to change the words up a little bit. I already did the 5 adults highline as well,
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more into the actual, and this is the same as the 5 adults high, where the language feels a little advanced for a 5-year-old when it's the rafters, privilege reserved for the rafters. Just, it doesn't feel like 5-year-old language to me, which is fine if that's not the direction that you want to take the story. If this is meant to be a piece where it's an adult looking back, so they are using this more intelligent language. But from how the story is told, it's kind of going in a linear perspective. It's not necessarily her looking back from any point in her life. So to use language that a younger child would use, which I think is what the writer's going for when they say at least 5 adults high.
Yeah.
Using words that, privilege reserved, they are fitting for the context of the story. That is exactly the word that I would use in a sentence. But in terms of saying it like a 5-year-old, it feels a little out of place. From my vantage point, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it does sort of seem like it's looking back. But
to me, it didn't feel like that at all. Like, maybe just this first part was looking back, but then it goes into, like, her being, like, saying mama and stuff like that. Like,
so I guess just finding the balance between those two.
Yeah, finding the balance. Because you can go either way, that's completely fine, but if you're going back and forth, just, like, stick in a direction.
Yeah. I do like the use of just calling them mama and nonna.
Mama and mama. Because then also that would change the tense of the story. For example, if she's looking back, she's like, and this isn't a line, I'm just going to say, like, I pushed a chair. If she's looking back from a past perspective, I pushed a chair. If she's telling the story from present time, I'm pushing a chair. So
I push a chair.
I push a chair. She pushes a chair if it's their perspective. So that tense also changes, which is a good way to also indicate how we're supposed to be perceiving the story, how we're supposed to read the point of view character.
Okay. I have something to say. Sorry.
Yeah, go, because I'm kind of just going through all my, like, marked sentences.
Okay.
To be clear, I'm doing this because the writer specifically asked for it. I promise I'm not
No,
just
it's good Cassie sucks.
nitpicky for the point of nitpicky.
Yeah.
I really am saying this because I think it's going to help the story flow better.
I do want to say that because obviously this story has a lot of sensory detail in it, which is great. I wish there were more onomatopoeias in this. I love the use of the onomatopoeia with I felt the sharp crack of runners. I love that. I love that so much. And especially, with the bones breaking, I don't know. Yeah, and somehow karate chopped my own shin with my other leg. I feel like adding an onomatopoeia there would just, I'd love that. I'm not usually a big fan of
crunch or something.
Yeah, or crunch. Oh, that's a good one.
Well, it's a little confusing how it happens because I think she just damages her leg at the park and then it fully cracks later.
Yeah.
I think is the point. But yeah, I agree. More of that onomatopoeia stuff.
Well, here's the thing. I knew that first sound, which is the crack.
Yeah.
It was the same sound my leg had made when I went to the park with my nonna. So I think she does break her leg there.
Yeah,
crunch it's like when my brother broke his leg. He fell off his bike and then it was kind of like, you'll be fine, you'll walk it off. And then he didn't walk it off. And then they went to the doctors and realized it was broken.
He was being a little brat.
Yeah.
Pull it together, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I like that as well, because I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Oh, I did, because I saw that, especially because it's italicized as well, which I like.
The crack, yeah.
Yeah, the crack of runners.
The crack of runners.
And I feel like using that throughout as well would also be very cool. Just a little dash of onomatopoeia.
Yeah, I do. Oh my goodness. I do like the changing up of the actual text in the story, using italics, using different fonts. That's not really something that you see like, the italics are very common, but using different fonts and stuff, especially even using bold, underlined, that kind of stuff is uncommon, but I like it. Like,
I like it too, because
I think it makes the story personalized. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't care that it's not, like, technically correct.
Also,
like,
sometimes, like, a personal and serious story can still be a little bit silly sometimes. I feel like
Yeah.
putting something in bold doesn't make it look unprofessional. I think it just makes it fun. And
Yeah, like people hate whimsy.
more engaging to read as well, I feel like.
Yes.
Yes. Because your eyes naturally move towards it.
Yeah, especially if it's like a big moment.
Mm.
Like the get well soon, I know doesn't feel like a big moment, but if the whole story is about how she feels alone and how she had this expectation that people would be doing this,
Yeah.
and then it completely falls flat, then it is an extremely big moment. It's something that sticks with somebody.
Yeah.
Especially from such a young age. Yeah, more. I know I've said 100 times. I would have loved more feeling for the isolation because it's such a real. I don't know if I'm outing myself here, but it's such a real experience.
Loser.
Yeah. It's such a real experience to feel lonely,
Yeah.
even around other people. To be
especially
alone,
around other people.
to be alone and to be lonely, like, is such an extremely real feeling, and it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how close you are with people, how many friends you have, it doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter your social status.
If you feel lonely, you're
Feeling
lonely.
is so universal.
Yeah.
The ability to describe how loneliness feels is just powerful.
Yeah, because it's a very
So if
hard
this,
thing to do.
Yeah, if the story is driven by that, I think that's what would make it just
Or
so
even
much more intense.
again, because this is a creative nonfiction. I'm trying to be quick. Because this is a creative nonfiction piece. Obviously, it's not from experience. From our experience.
From our experience.
It's from the author's experience. But if there is a moment later with the best friend in the future where you still do feel isolated, I feel like that would still be good to pop in there.
Because
that
loneliness,
Because especially if you're lonely as a kid, like that kind of
that stays with you.
that stays with you for life. Like it comes back.
Yeah, so even if it's like showing that she still feels lonely, but she's got some level of comfort now with her friends, like her friends are able to recognize that, or it's like, because what are they doing in the room? Like her friends doing her homework and she's sitting on a bed.
Yeah.
It's like shared space of like recognizing that she's lonely, so she goes to just sit with her friend, spending time together, even if they're not necessarily interacting with each other incredibly, like if they're not having a conversation or going out and doing something, just the act of like sitting together in the same room and doing their own things.
What's it called? Parallel play?
Yeah,
Parallel.
parallel play.
Yeah.
Like that is like a way to show that this loneliness still exists, but there are things to do, and there's like coping mechanisms, and there's, it doesn't go away, but it gets better and easier. And I think that's a more realistic kind of tie-in.
Rather than it just goes away completely and I have a friend now.
Because it doesn't. Loneliness is real. It's forever.
You heard it here first. Loneliness
You heard it
is
here
real.
first. Loneliness is real. No, loneliness it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
You can always be alone. It doesn't.
And it can
matter.
hit you at the most random moments ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you want to quickly spit off any other notes that you had?
No, I was kind of just going through some like sentence stuff, but
Okay.
I think structuring a lot of the sentences are very similar, where it starts with a very short sentence and then it goes into like a longer description, where it's just like immediate sentence in a paragraph and then long description, and then immediate short sentence paragraph and then long description. And I do like that, but it feels like a punch moment a little bit. So using that more sparingly to like really have a moment of like a line that's like kind of gut wrenching.
Yeah.
I don't know if I described that correctly, but yeah. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Our camera turned off.
Yep. Well. But yeah,
Oh,
that
and
was
also the
quickly.
Oh, sorry. Oh wait, we've got my own was wrapped in bright pink mesh. That line can just be removed because you just immediately say it later. So just say like, I was given 3 options, 1, 2, and 3. I went with this one. Having the like, I went with bright pink mesh, and then these were the options that they gave me. I was like, okay. It just felt like unnecessary. Anyway, sorry, we have like 10 seconds on the clock.
30 seconds.
Thank you so
but that
much,
was Heads Up,
Danielle.
Hearts Open by Deanna Caputo. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you so much for submitting.
I loved the piece. I know we talked a lot about like really critical stuff, but it was so good.
Yeah.
So real.
It was
So
it
cute.
was really well written as well. It was beautiful.
I love any story about a young girl finding herself.
And I think we really found each other in there.
Aww. I'm starting to feel lonely. Just leave.
Okay. Anyways.
Outro.
Outro. Thickens. Bye.
SwinRadio.